We're gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be beautiful. And you know what it is? It's because this podcast. It's called Oops All Dragons, and it's a podcast where we're nerds and we talk about D&D and tabletop role-playing and generally talk about why we like this stupid play pretend game. Hi, I'm Lisa.
I'm Varun.
And we aren't professionals. We haven't done the 1,000 hours. Like, relax. We're gonna get there at some point, but like, cut me some slack.
You can hear our guest in the background there.
There's some additional giggling in the digital studio today.
Ari, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
I'm so sorry. I was trying not to giggle.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm Ari, Ariel, but like I was saying, most people can't say Ariel, so everybody just calls me Ari. And I am a D&D player and DM, amongst other things, but yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Lovely. Fantastic. I would hope that you enjoy the game that we spend a lot of time talking about here. Mm-hmm. And hey, never apologize for giggling and never stifle a giggle. I was literally at the gym earlier, and I was like, not enough giggling happening at the gym. I need more giggling happening at the gym.
It's just sweaty, gross dudes just like staring at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, no, I need them to let out a little tee-hee every now and again.
A little tee.
A little chuckle, a little chortle. It never hurt. You know, that's an exercise.
Okay. All right, Pinkie Pie.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Wow. No one's ever said anything to me that has cut so deep as that. Congratulations.
Thank you. She has a song on the new My Little Pony series. It's an older one now, but she says chuckle at the ghosties, and it's like chortle at the spookies, I think is what it is.
That's very much my method whenever I go to like a haunted house.
Right. No.
I went to our friend's show, House of Spirits, and I was chortling at the... What is it? Chortling at the ghosts?
No. Yeah,
at the spookies.
Chortle at the spookies.
Because you know one of them.
And giggle
I know
at the
all of them.
ghosties. And giggle at the ghosties.
Goofs. Oh, man. Yeah, no. It's also, like... It's fun to go places with your friends. Because... You'll have a laugh, a gaff, a guffaw.
A guffaw? So many ye old words.
I know.
Very on brand.
I watch a lot of TV. I don't know what to tell you. That's a little bit of what I've been up to. Going to the gym, getting healthy. I've been watching. Nice. There's this guy on Instagram who his whole I guess he's on TikTok too. I don't know. I'm not on there. Where his whole thing is training to fight in Mordor or some shit like that. Okay. all of his videos are of him carrying big bags and lifting things in a way where it's he can be I'm carrying a sword and a shield and I'm running on the treadmill real fast. It's okay. Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same. I wonder if it's the same dude that's called the Gym Nerd or something, and he does 3-minute workouts for nerds, basically. I wonder if it's the same dude.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love TikTok. I have no big flex, but I have almost 2,000 followers on there.
Nice.
Whoa, that is a flex.
Yeah, no big flex. That's fine.
No, I just have people who are interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah. They like my face enough. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's cash. It's fine.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I have to talk about. I watched Tar last night, the Cate Blanchett movie where she's a lesbian conductor. Oh my god.
Hold on.
I've heard of this. I think I've seen the trailer.
One of the movies of all time.
Is it in the theater or is it streaming?
It's limited release, so it's like you might find one theater that's playing it at any given time, like in your city. Like we had to drive into the valley, Hork, to go see it last night, and
I know that feeling.
we ended up being like 20 minutes late. Which was only like just enough to miss the trailers in like the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is literally like I think like the beginning of the movie is like a 10-minute interview that she's doing that like helps set up who she is and how important she is and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God. What a movie. Kate Blanchett?
So firstly, I need you to like put
expound on this movie.
Right, a movie I know with Kate Blanchett in it because that's a name.
Lord of the Rings.
And I don't know. Okay, pretend that I don't
Thor
like
Ragnarok.
Lord of the Rings that much.
She was the what's her name? Yeah, in Thor Ragnarok.
Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
She's Hela. She's Galadriel in Lord of the Rings. She's
Ew, Galadriel? Ew.
You know what? Forget the conductor movie. What's
we gotta unpack this.
What's the Galadriel hate?
We gotta unpack this. I'm sorry to say. This is what we're spending the next hour on.
Also, I think your mic already switched. Okay, there you go. Switch back.
Okay, my Galadriel hate goes back to my Lord of the Rings hatred.
Okay.
Whoa.
So we'll
continue.
We'll unpack this. I was like junior or senior year in high school, and I decide that my mom got me a second edition of the Lord of the Rings series, box set. Like a really old book. We had like a vintage bookstore near my house. Anyway, so she gets me this, and I'm like, bet, I'm going to read it. So I'm flipping through the pages, reading it. And then by about the 10th page of the first book, I realized that Tolkien has spent 10 pages describing a leaf on a tree. And I'm like...
And?
I'm like, good and actually fuck off.
I have other things to do.
Exactly. So where's the hole in the tree and the tree in the bog right down in the Ratnan hole, you know? Like, where is that? Like, I don't understand. But so then I was like, bet, I'll just watch the Lord of the Rings movies. Well, nobody told me that you don't know what the hell is going on unless you, like, have some backstory on the matter. So Galadriel comes up, right? I'm like, thanks. I kind of hate the jawline going on here, first off. Now, mind you, I'm in high school, so I'm like, I'm not liking it. And then she's like, I will be queen of the darkness. And I'm like, where did this come from? Why? Hold on. This was an absolute left turn, and thanks, I hate it. You didn't even explain it. So I have some Galadriel hate.
Wow. You hit on the one, like, button that just did it, huh?
Yeah.
I honestly kind of obsessed with that. I love people who have opinions, you know?
Don't watch the new Lord of the Rings show. It is, like, 50% Galadriel.
But, like... I also quote Smeagol all the time. Specifically when he's sending him to Aragog.
Yeah.
The spider.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, you need to go there. And he's like, you need to go up the stairs. I do that all the time because I live on the second floor. So I'm just like, up the stairs. Listen, every time.
He's a little guy. He's a little guy.
He's a
he's
guy.
Right. You do need to go up the stairs.
Every time. You just do it. So, yeah, I don't like Galadriel, and I prefer Smeagol.
Sure.
And I share Sam's obsession with potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
Yes.
Yeah, no, perfect. Makes sense. No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
Dear God.
Checks out. No notes.
Have we gone off the rails quicker, like
There's no rails.
ever.
Still trying to put me on rails.
I mean, you were talking about a movie about a conductor like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But like, is it a music conductor or is it like a railroad conductor?
Railroad conductor.
Kate Blanchett is a railroad conductor. Oh, that's the Snowpiercer sequel I want.
A train conductor.
Oh my god.
That's the Snowpiercer sequel we deserve.
Okay.
No. Okay. No.
Is there anything you want to say about this movie, Lisa? Or
No, that you should make an effort to watch it in a theater.
okay.
Specifically because the ending, the audience reaction to the ending is chef's kiss. Fantastic. And I'm not going to elaborate. I refuse
So,
to
Alright.
elaborate.
On a level of 1 being like snooze fest to 10 being a Marvel secret credit scene, how's the reaction of the
Like, there's nothing I could say that
You don't want to
like,
spoil anything.
I don't want to spoil what flavor of reaction it is, because the journey that you go on, because you are held hostage by this movie. It is like an almost 3-hour-long movie.
Jesus Christ.
But you get
Speaking
to the
of Lord
last
of the Rings.
season, you get to the last scene, and you're like, no, we've been in this movie theater for 3 hours. What the fuck? There's no way that this is going to be the end.
And that's the end.
And then it's the end.
Is it KFC finger licking good?
It's the energy in the room is palpable.
Okay.
And because I am an agent of chaos and I love when people are affected.
Okay.
What was that?
I've never heard Lisa make that noise.
What is that goblin giggle that I just heard? She's like,
No.
I've
She's
never
like,
heard
if-
you make that noise.
she's like, if Pinkie Pie decided to join the dark side, I don't understand. And
Oh man. It's just it has really inspired it's inspired something in me, really.
Apparently.
Oh my god.
Speaking of inspiring, I recently got inspired by TikTok, but I don't assume either of you are on TikTok. So
Correct.
I got inspired by my new D&D character that I'm going to be playing. I'm so excited. Anyway, inspiration.
We will talk about that when we get to the D&D part. Anything non-D&D
D&D?
you've been up to, Ari?
Like I said, I work the Renaissance Festival.
Cool.
So right now, for any Florida people, Florida man, hello, Florida man. I work at the TY Park in Hollywood for Camelot Days. Tomorrow, Sunday, is going to be the last day at fair, and then I'm going to be doing Florida Renaissance Festival February through the beginning of April, so 8 weekends. And like my voice is dead because I have been doing an accent. I've been doing an Arabic, specifically Egyptian accent all day. And
What do you do at the fair?
so I work for a group called the Ottoman Encampment, and we just basically talk about the history and how the Ottomans were actually the thing, or the people that created the Renaissance, not just like Europeans.
Cool.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes. Decolonize the Renaissance fair.
The Europe.
The Europe.
Decolonize the Europe.
Actually, do colonize Europe.
Recolonize Europe.
Flip that
Well-
Uno reverse card on Europe.
You'll be back. Soon you'll see.
No, my turn. Listen, my dream is to, like, me and some of my, like, most, queer people of color friends to just go and buy, like, a little house in the French countryside and just, like, brown it up a little bit. Just to give them a little culture, put a little
brown it
flavor.
About that. Well, I don't have like acres in the French country, but I do have 7 acres in Arkansas that's
Whoa.
never been like developed. so you can brown it up if you want.
I mean, that needs some brown
Sounds like
as well.
Sounds like you need a co-op.
Yes.
You need some goats. You need an apiary. You need somebody growing mushrooms. Listen, I got the plan. I got the blueprints. Call me.
She has the blueprints.
Bet.
She has the connections.
You got the hookups. Like, what's an apiary, first off?
It's the thing you keep bees in.
Oh.
That's beekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
You need an
But
apiary.
they're a flying thing, aren't they? In the aviary?
That's
No,
birds.
an aviary is birds.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paula.
You don't want to. You don't. It's fine, but you don't want to
It's
keep
okay.
birds and bees together.
You're
no
gonna get
birds
some
and
real-
the bees talks.
You're gonna get some really weird creatures.
Yeah.
No birds and the bees talks.
And what about you, Varun?
Cool. For me, went to my cousin's wedding. So that was another. Nikki was on not too long ago. That was another like 5-day affair. Going down to Miami, very expensive Miami, and then just having to deal with that for a while. I mean, it was fun. My whole family was there. The bride's whole family was there. Double Indian family, so it's just like literally 400 or 500 people.
Yikes.
In one place at once. We literally partied until the sun came up. Awesome fun. Extremely tiring.
And you're
after multiple
sick
days
now.
of this. Getting over it. But yeah, I still sound like it. And so that was fun. And then also continuing Triangle Strategy, like I told you last time. That is an interesting game for the Switch because the first time you run through it, you don't know what your choices are. You just have to like use your best judgment on like what sort of choices you're gonna make. And like I end up creating a hyper capitalist, destroying serfdom and creating capitalism. That's what I ended up doing. And I'm like,
What?
oh Jesus Christ. But then there are other endings. So the last run of the game I did, I introduced a theocracy to the whole world, which introduced mostly equality. But then there was this one, servitor class of people. I'm just like, I feel awful for doing this.
Yeah, wow.
And now-
a game that makes you examine your biases. Damn.
Your morals.
Now this time I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna free the oppressed people, but that's also going to leave a power vacuum because the way you have to do it is you abandon all the other people who have been following you thus far. So like like every ending of the game is like bad in some way. Like
Damn, that sounds like a game with like, hey, we're trying to teach you a lesson here.
Yeah. And then there's one final path that after you've run through all the others, that's like if everything goes the right way at the right time, you can kind of get everything. And I'm gonna try for that one. But yeah, it's a very good game, and yeah, it's like it makes you like that last run when I had to just like say, yeah, we're just gonna have a slave race because that's the only way to guarantee equality for the most amount of people. I'm just like, oh my god, this is awful.
Wow.
Nobody wins.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
Oh god, and that's the thing. Just like all the normal people, all the non-main characters, all the NPCs, and all that, like they end up fine by the end. But then you know that there's this other group out there who you just effed over real hard. And then in the other ending, when it's hyper-capitalist, you're like, oh, all these people who like had no uplift before actually do. But now the people who also had no means to begin with are also worse off than they were before. So, god, it's just like literally consequences the game.
Wow.
Yeah, it's society is complicated and government is complicated and hard.
Yeah. That is what I have been mostly up to, and then training with you for that run that we're doing in a little bit. But we'll talk about that after we've done it in more detail.
Yeah, let's actually make sure that we actually do the run.
We got it.
Listen, I love to go for a little walk. Now I just gotta do it faster and
longer.
Yeah. What is it? What's a 5K? Is that like 3 miles?
It's 3.11 miles.
Okay. That's like 3 little walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Three
fine.
little walks. What little walks are you doing? Hold on.
So every
A
now and again,
mile,
I have to go to the post office or something, and I don't know, the weather's been nice, so I go for a little walk, and I just like walk over it. But it's like, it's like 0.8 miles away, and then like I'll take the long way back home because I want to stop and get coffee, and then I end up like by the end of it I end up walking like 2 miles.
Yeah. Nice.
But can you do that like twice in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like taking my time, it'll take me like an hour and a half, but I can do it. I was absolutely the one of the kids that walked the mile in high school.
We are going to get done we're going to get done in about an hour, all right?
All right.
Yeah, listen, I'm a stroll, like I'm into a stroll, a promenade.
We'll do it. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll both have the pace. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Anything else? Otherwise,
we are acknowledging the death of Twitter, and I will start our Tumblr.
Hold on.
Week.
No, fill me in on that. Hold on.
You don't know about the death of Twitter?
Listen, I don't use Twitter like y'all don't use TikTok, okay?
I don't use Twitter either.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I don't know if you know about this. You know about this guy, Elon Musk? You know about
Elron Musk?
Yeah.
I hear that he's kind of famous, but like I don't know.
He's the guy who he bought Tesla, with his daddy's emerald mine money. From
and a lot of government subsidies.
Yeah,
and isn't he like one of the richest people in the world? If not the richest.
He's also a little piss baby. Basically,
if his social media presence is to be believed, yes, he is. He is a
chronically online grown adult, like 40-some-year-old, maybe more. Probably, definitely more. He's a chronically online adult who constantly seeks validation from young men.
What?
Not in a sexual way, but in a like, I am deeply insecure, and I need to make sure that people think I'm funny, and that I'm one of the cool kids, and I'm a cool guy. So like, he posts like stolen memes and shit. And he's like, he's like a quote unquote meme lord, but like the only meme is that he's an idiot. The only meme is that he's an idiot.
The memes are the shit that he doesn't mean to be memes.
Exactly. Well, the memes of him are kind of the reason why he was like, I'm gonna buy Twitter because free speech and blah blah blah. But all it is like he was tired of people making fun of him and calling him out and like saying shit, and like he was like, he's one of those like He's one of those people who loves to be like, oh, the woke mob and cancel culture and blah, 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 when it's all like, but it's just people making fun of you on the internet. You could log off. You are literally the third richest man in the world, or the second richest man in the world. And you and Jeff Bezos are like, just constantly dick measuring. Like, you just went to space the other day. Like, you could just log off. You could just log off.
You could.
And
you don't
none
need
of this
your
would be a
phone
problem.
in space. You don't need your phone in space.
But
he just wants people to be able to use the N-word on Twitter, without consequence.
He wants people to be able to be racist on Twitter without any consequences. And so
which is exactly what happened.
He joked about buying Twitter, and then he like kind of initiated the purchase.
He did initiate the purchase.
He initiated the purchase, and then he wanted
back out.
He wanted to back out, and then Twitter sued because he was going to buy it for like something like $44 billion or something insane,
and then
impossible. He realizes more money than he's actually worth.
And then he realizes, hey, Twitter's not actually worth $44 billion, and a lot of the people on here are bots.
Yeah, well. It's not even just that, but, like, it's not worth that, and also, like, it's a lot more work than it's worth, and also everybody's making fun of me for trying to do this, and, like, I don't actually want this. All I wanted was for people to, stop making fun of me. Like, he's literally the kid trying to buy his way out of getting bullied. Like, no, the more you fight it, the worse it's gonna get. And, also, you're a rich adult man. We're gonna bully you. Sorry. Until it's legal... Territory. Yeah, like, until it's legal to actually eat the rich, like... we're gonna bully you on the internet. That's
Is this the start of like eating the rich? Is this where it starts?
I think we're gonna do a prog. I think we're gonna do defenestration. I don't know, but yeah. So he had to go through with it. He bought it and then like immediately crashed the company. Like fired hundreds of people.
Thousands.
Started changing, like had the people that he kept on change a bunch of like the policies on the thing. Started trying to sell the most recent thing is that he was selling blue checks, like what's it called?
Verification.
The verification.
Yeah, so you pay $8 to be a verified account. So now verification means absolutely nothing.
And a bunch of people verified themselves as other people and brands and just started to do a bunch of shit.
Yes,
like crashing. Was it not? It's not Pfizer. Whoever owns the insulin patent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the diet.
Crashed-
Oh, I heard about that.
Crashed their stock by saying, "Hey, insulin's free now."
Yeah.
And then they were like, "LOL, no, it's not," or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they were like, maybe we should re-examine the price of insulin, given what just happened to our money.
Yeah, basically what happened is a bunch of people bought verification, then changed their like profile picture and their display name to be like either of a very famous person or of a company, and started saying shit that like especially like the people who were like Nestle being like, sorry for stealing your water and trying to sell it back to you.
Sorry for the
And
slave
then
labor.
Basically forcing these companies on their actual official Twitters to say
That they
hey,
did
no,
it.
that's not actually our company policy. Basically say like, hey, being decent and decent to humanity is actually not our company policy. We didn't actually say that. Like, it just really, what a mess. Wow.
Oh,
It's
did
just,
you
like,
hear the tea about like when it like shut down, like the Twitter facility shut down and he like laid off or they quit or something? And,
yeah,
like,
a solid like 300 people just straight up quit.
Like he was
yeah,
like,
A couple days ago.
he basically
There's, like-
gave him the ultimatum of like, work twice as long for the same amount of money or get out, and everyone just
Yeah.
quit. Crazy
and
enough.
also like, hey, you have to do all the stupid shit that me, a man going through a midlife crisis, and just the most divorced man I've ever seen in my life. You're gonna have to just like fulfill the whims of this man child, and like no, they're not.
I was gonna say, I seen most of the employees of just like, nope, I'm just not gonna do that until like someone
Yeah.
actually fires me. I'm just gonna do whatever I was doing.
So, I was watching on TikTok because I just scrolly roll through that, and this lawyer was like, "Yeah, no, I read the contract or like the fine print or whatever on the deal that he made with Twitter, and part of that fine print says that whenever somebody's fired or like let go, basically when they don't work for the company, that they get the same package." Like exit package that they would have got when Twitter owned Twitter or whoever owned Twitter.
Sure.
And she was like, well, what was that package? And it was like 2 months worth of severance and like their stock gets vested up.
Ooh.
And like that's like $10,000, sometimes even $30,000. And now Elon Musk has to do that with literally everybody that quit or fired or whatever, and he's not willing to do it. And
Yeah, of
so
course not.
he's technically out of line of their agreement. So she's like, every worker there could sue him. And
Oh,
I
and it's
want you to
100%
sue
going to
him,
happen.
call me.
Like,
Yeah, no, it's
gonna
literally
be
a matter of
real
time.
interesting if there's just a giant class action lawsuit over this guy doing really stupid things really fast.
Yeah,
Oh, it was good.
over him wanting to turn Twitter into his and his friends' personal playground to say whatever shit they want without any consequence. And it's like, well, yeah, no, you have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom from other people telling you that you're a dumbass. That's kind of what freedom of speech means,
If
actually.
anything-
Because if you're free to say whatever you want, that means I'm free to say whatever I want. That means I can tell you that you should drink piss.
If anything, they're probably burning down Twitter as like the commons for discussion because like most people just either don't want to be on it or they're to troll at this point.
Yeah.
So, like,
fully.
is Twitter actually shut down right now?
It's
like,
not shut
because
down.
people are
No,
really
like
there?
you could still like go on the website. I think there are still some people on,
It's still
On
functioning
staff,
at this. Yeah.
but like it's gonna crash soon.
It's gonna.
I'm excited.
It's. I don't know if it'll technically crash, but it'll definitely crash in the aspect of its social cachet.
Yeah.
Like the minute Donald Trump gets back on there, just like most people are just gonna just like leave.
Wait,
like,
he's getting back on Twitter?
probably.
God damn it.
He reinstated like a bunch of other like a-holes who got banned for right-wing like trans or race stuff, and then put a vote up, and like it was like 51% reinstate Donald Trump. Okay, great. That's a good way to deal with that.
Jesus.
Oh my god, literally. I just opened Twitter just to see, and literally first thing on my feed is breaking news. Trump says he will not come back to Twitter, even though Elon Musk reactivated his account.
Wow, that's saying something. Holy shit.
That's so funny.
When Donald Trump doesn't want back into the attention machine, he's like, there's no attention there anymore. Not the one he wants, anyway. Holy shit, that is something.
People just make verified accounts of Donald Trump. And just,
I mean, they were, yeah. Well, anyways, this has been Twitter Watch. Fascinating.
Twitter Watch.
Check back in next week for updates. I mean, it's going to be a slow death.
It's going to be
just go.
It's going to be basically like MySpace or Tumblr, even though Tumblr had a little resurgence in a different way because it's a different thing. But yeah, it's just going to be like people just leaving it over the years. And just like Yahoo and all the other guys who bought up all these other social media networks for hundreds of billions of dollars or whatever, they sell it for like a fraction of whatever they sold it for.
No, I wanted to see a social media account go down like a damn helium balloon.
You wanted to go like the Zeppelin.
Yes, I was thinking the Hindenburg. I don't know why.
The Hindenburg.
Yeah.
If it's a helium balloon, it's going to go up. But if it's the Hindenburg, oh yeah.
Like a lead balloon.
You want the lead balloon.
Yeah, I want to see something go down like the Hindenburg. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
There you go. Get a Twitter account. Just watch.
No, that's too slow.
Oh man. You know what's often too slow? Playing D&D.
Way to make that transition.
Listen, I had to make it work somehow. So interesting that you are a Lord of the Rings hater, and I want to get into that.
It's like the building blocks of D&D.
Because you are a nerd. So I want to know, how do you get to be a nerd and not like Lord of the Rings?
Without Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. Like, what kind of nerd are you? Where'd you come from? What book did you read? What movie did you watch? Like, why are you a nerd? How did you get this way?
D&D specifically.
Where did I come from? Where did you go? Where did I come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Someone had to do it.
Okay, so this is going to start off as a sad story, then it's going to end right here where we are in a good story. Okay, just letting you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
So my family's a military family. My mother was Air Force. My biological father is Navy, like the kind of Navy that sat in the submarines and decoded German messages. And then my stepdad was Army police. So, like, we moved around everywhere all the time, base to base. And then my stepdad was in America when a war was going on, and he was in a warehouse where they would ship the weapons back to be cleaned for, like biochemicals and stuff. So he got
Vietnam?
Yes, Vietnam. I think it might have been Vietnam. Maybe. And that might have been a little too old. I can't remember now. Anyway, but he was getting weapons shipped over, and because of the biochemicals still on the weapons, he got the same illness that they did. But the military would not diagnose him with it because he was not in the war. So fast forward to when I'm like between the ages of 10 and 12 years old, the illness progresses to the point that my stepdad becomes absolutely comatose for like 6 months, to the fact that we have to move off base because nobody's working as a military personnel at this point. And my mother has to physically fireman carry this military police sergeant into an RV trailer. And so she started homeschooling me, and we started driving around the country trying to find a VA doctor that would diagnose him and figure out what was going on. Turns out that it was Agent Orange, which Gulf War. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah, because it was called Gulf War syndrome, but they wouldn't diagnose him with it because he wasn't in the Gulf War.
He wasn't in the field.
Exactly. So we would go base to base, and my mom would homeschool me, and obviously that requires a lot of books. So one day we stop at Barnes and Noble's on a late night, and they're having a Harry Potter party. If you're old enough to know about the Harry Potter release parties, at Barnes and Noble's. So I got into Harry Potter around the 3rd or 4th book. And so I have an overbite, a little bit of an overbite. It's been fixed with braces. I have really long features, to the fact that in high school I was called Horseface, but that's a different story anyway. So I picked up the Harry Potter series and read the description of Hermione Granger. And I was like, that's exactly me. Frizzy hair, overbite, like, loves studying, but everybody pushes her to the corner because she's something different. And so I realized that no matter where I went, as long as I had a library, I could go back to my friends. I could go back to Harry Potter. I could go back to being Hermione again. And I had a world I could go back to as long as I could get to a library. And so that made that a little more bearable for me. And so I would start to see these worlds that they created in their heads. And then I would watch, like, the movies, and I'd be like, well, that's not what I saw in my head. I want to make the world that I saw in my head. And so then I started writing. And then after that, I found D&D around high school age, like 15, 16. I found D&D, and I was like, I could live in this world that I want. And then that's how I also started TikToks, because I was like, well, I watch these movies and these music videos, and I'm just like, they're not what I see in my head, so I'm going to make them what I want. And so, yeah, that's how I became a D&D nerd, to escape things.
Cool.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate to the sentiment of, like, oh, this is a thing that I could use to not be here?
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I don't have to be here all the time.
Yeah. Exactly. And, like, I don't have to run away.
Yeah, no. That, for me, it was finding... First, it was finding Animorphs, and then it was finding Aragon, honestly. I think Aragon...
Some sort of fantasy series leads to D&D.
Yeah.
Absolutely, every time. Oh, what was it called? It wasn't the Nicholas Flamel series. What was it?
Sorry, wait, hold on. You've actually read Secrets of Nicholas Flamel? No.
Yes. Yes, I have.
I've only met, like, 2 other people who have read that series.
Yes.
Go, Lisa.
Artemis Fowl. Fowl.
Oh.
I actually learned the language of the fairies in the Artemis Fowl series, so I could actually read the messages that were at the bottom of the pages.
Oh my god, That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's how I did that.
No, amazing. Like, it's, because it is interesting to consider that, like, these things all do owe a sort of, like, inheritance to Lord of the Rings, because it is such an influential piece of fantasy fiction. Mm-hmm. It is, like, it's the, other than, like, Arthurian legend, and then, you know, like, around the world, we all have, like, our own, like, myths and legends that are cultural, but, like, in the West...
For D&D specifically, you know, it's
I mean, not even... Well, not, like, we'll get to D&D down that line there, but, like, when you're a person who is developing an interest in fantasy fiction, and you aren't looking for things to escape, like, yes, you may not like Lord of the Rings, because, yes, he does. No, I tried to read The Hobbit. He spends, no lie, a full chapter describing all the different strains of hobbit weed and what they do, and where they're from and who first grew them, and like it's a textbook about hobbit weed is the first chapter of The Hobbit.
You're gonna hate Moby Dick.
It's unnecessary.
But like you then read something like Harry Potter, Aragon, even Nicholas Flamel, even Percy Jackson, all these, Artemis Fowl, any series where like the author is clearly trying very hard to do languages and geography, and there's like a history, and like as the characters that you're following are moving through the space, they're seeing remnants of a history past. Like those are all people who are influenced by Lord of the Rings. So, like it or not, that is in the bloodline, you know?
Right.
It's just that, people choose not to, spend 30 pages on describing.
I was gonna say, I'll push back on the, like, it's unnecessary bit a little bit, because, yes, by today's standards, people have much shorter attention spans. They just want to get to it. But, like, this stuff was new back in the day, so like literally creating the world, like filling it in with all this stuff was important to him, to Tolkien.
Right. Yeah.
To Herman Melville talking about whaling and Moby Dick, that sort of thing. Folks who watch Critical Role, like Mercer over describes every single thing. Like, how would that show be if he's just like, all right, you walk into the tavern, what do you do?
Right. It's
important to give that flavor.
Right. So let me clarify. So I do not like Lord of the Rings. I don't like Galadriel. Like, I just don't. But like, it's like having that relative in a bloodline, like a grandparent, that you're like, yeah, they smell like prunes and mothballs. They're gross. But like, I wouldn't be here if they weren't here. You know?
Right.
So, like, I'll acknowledge that they are, like, the grandfather of all of it, and bow down to them doing all of the hard work that we can build upon, but good God, it's unnecessary. And, like, but if I put myself in his shoes and, like, wrote down everything, like, that I wanted for my campaigns, it would be the same thing. I would be describing a leaf for 10 pages. Like, I understand that. I get it. But good God, nobody wants to read the DM's notes like that. Nobody wants to. I'm sorry. Nobody.
Yes!
No,
some people do.
Nobody wants to read the DM notebook. I'm so sorry.
Some people don't like to vary from the train tracks. They really like the DM's notes sometimes.
And, like, with that said, I think we're all cross-discipline nerds. So, like, yes, you're a nerd of fantasy fiction, but you're also probably a nerd about something else, and then you're gonna bring that something else into your fantasy fiction. With Tolkien, his whole thing is that he is very specifically a nerd about linguistics and how languages form. So all of that history and backstory and lore and all of it, even down to like the geography, how the land is shaped, it all feeds into the languages and how the languages are structured. What are the words shared between languages? How do two cultures who technically speak the same language have like differences in like in the way that like in different dialects, and it just like in turns of phrases and so that's why he does that, but not everybody needs to do that.
Right. And I bowed out to him again, like thinking like a DM on the matter. Like, I'm so glad that you're able to make those maps, because bitch, I can't. I can't. My best accents I could do is Southern, Egyptian Arabic, a little bit of Russian, and
I know it.
And like Southern slang. Those are the languages I could do. So, like, good on you for, like, creating whole-ass languages and the maps to go with them. Good on you. But, like, I couldn't do it. And, like, I don't want to read your thought process on it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, you get into the game. How does that start? Because you're homeschooled, is it just you by yourself, or are there other people involved?
So D&D, so because I was homeschooled, so I'm 29 now, because I was homeschooled, I didn't have much of a social life. Hashtag, no
Indoor
socials.
kid.
Yeah. Hashtag indoor good. Hashtag antisocial. So I didn't like being around people. So the idea of going to a table to play D&D was terrifying to me. But I went to my local gaming store, and there was just a D&D game going on. He's like, yo, I'm running Mines of Findelver. Now, mind you, at this time,
It's always Mines of Findelver.
Okay, so this
reliable.
This was interesting. So I was like 23 years old when that started.
Mm-hmm.
So we started Mines of Findelver, and then he wove in Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Tomb of Annihilation.
Wow.
Ooh.
Also, fuck Tomb of Annihilation. Fuck Tomb of Annihilation. Like, my claustrophobia kicked in just him describing the tomb. Anyway. So, that's how that went. And then I moved. I am now in South Florida. That was in, like, Port St. Lucie area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's North Florida or Central Florida. I don't know. Anyway.
It's like North-South Florida.
It's the
You know
part
what
of
I mean.
Florida. It's the part of Florida, for those unfamiliar. It's the part of Florida where things start to get southern. People say in Florida that the more north, like if you're like starting at the tip of Florida, the more north you go, the more south you get.
Yeah.
And Port St. Lucie is where you really start to see that.
Anything above
Right.
Boca, really.
Right.
West Palm.
Boynton.
All right,
Boynton.
Boynton.
All right, come on, leave Boca alone.
But yeah, so this was in Port St. Lucie. So then I had to move because our house was getting foreclosed on. That's an absolutely different story that has nothing to do with this matter. Anyway, so our house was getting foreclosed on, so I had to move. And I moved down south, and I was like, hey, I can't play this game anymore. So I had to quit that game before I finished that game. And so then I was like, I need to get back to D&D. And then I found online D&D because hashtag COVID. I found online D&D. And now I'm at this place called The Tavern on Discord. And, which is literally free to anybody. You can just come in, and there are a bunch of games running. And I found my table, and we just finished that game. And my character ended at level 19.
Nice.
Yes.
Got all the way to... They didn't let you get to 20, man? Oh, didn't give you the cherry on top?
I don't know. We have the epilogue coming this next Tuesday, so I might get to level 20 in the epilogue. I don't know. But, like, it was an odd conclusion. I even told the DM, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like it was absolutely wrapped up and it was satisfying that way, but, like, I don't know how I feel about the ending. Like, was that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's usually a sign of a good and or interesting game. When you get to the end, you're like, I don't know how to feel.
Right. What happened is that, like, so this was a heavy homebrew game. Homebrew. So basically what happened is that this DM created demons. One was named Ali Girax, Zuktmoy, and Dybbuk. And so Ali Girax, we also called Gabriel.
Okay.
And we had fought him before, and we won. But he's the demon of flesh. So, like,
Girax.
Yeah, Ali Girax. So he just liked to, like, destroy flesh and, like, build things that he thought was, quote, divinity out of flesh. And Zuktmoy was plants. So she did the same thing with plants. And then Dybbuk was soul. So, like, he manipulated souls and stuff. So we'd fought Gabe before, and his big giant flesh monster, and honestly, it was straight out of Cthulhu horror. It was gross. Anyway, so at the ending, well, towards the middle, we get this canister to be able to destroy Zuktmoy. And they're like, yeah, no, just open this canister and it will destroy Zuktmoy. And we're like, bet. So we get to the ending and we've got the canister and we explode the canister and it turns to find out that it's a monster from Ali Girax. And that only eats plants. So we only
vegetarian.
survived. Exactly. So we only survived this battle because Gabriel's monstrosity killed Zuckboy. And it's like, how do I feel about Gabe, like, who tried to fuck with our minds, is the one that basically saved the world and saved us. Like, how do I feel about that? How do I feel about that?
Is there... Okay, so is there any way you guys could have won otherwise?
I don't think so. So
That is
the
odd.
thing is that Zuckboy could take over all the plants. So, like, basically she released pollen or spores, and it, like, embedded her consciousness into the plants.
Mm-hmm.
So she...
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, obviously there's plants everywhere. Hashtag the world. So she was hiding out in a jungle continent that nobody had explored before.
Mm-hmm.
So she had just been spreading her influence throughout this whole jungle. So she had a whole continent to herself. So, like, how do you fight a continent?
Very hard. That's a thinker.
Yeah,
that's I mean, that is so eldritch. That is so crafty. And
Mm-hmm.
how do you fight something so big and incomprehensible? Something that you would have to, like, you can't possibly, like, take
Burn
all of it
down
in at
the
once.
whole forest, or you time travel to before she took it over.
Yeah, like, we had somebody that was able to go back in time, but, like, he couldn't push it past, like, 10 seconds or something like that. Or else, like, he would risk insanity. But for that fight, I was actually running 2 characters. That was fun.
I was gonna. that was the next thing I was gonna ask you. Like, so what was your character or characters in this campaign?
So I am a wizard main. I will die on that hill. Wizards are the best. Sorry, all you melee folks. Wizards are bae.
You're one of mine.
Hey, without the melee class, y'all will get swarmed. Just saying.
Yeah, no, we need the fighters. We're so squishy.
No. I'm just telling you right now, I was a wizard, just full caster wizard, no deviations, with 256 hit points.
That's that's a lot, but like level 19. I mean, level 19, there's still a lot of things that could just straight up murder you in a couple rounds.
But I wasn't squishy, though. I wasn't squishy. I took tough. I took the feat tough.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, so I played, my main character was Cordelia Marathis, Lady Cordelia Marathis specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a divination wizard.
Okay.
She was a div whiz. So a divination wizard basically has this thing called portents. The description of it literally says that they get a dream before they wake up of how the day's going to go, and you get to roll 2 d20 and just save those. So, like, a DM is like, does a 26 hit? And it goes, no, your 5 does not hit. Because I used one of my portents to change your roll.
Yeah. Those are cool.
Some DMs, like, how portents works, a lot of DMs run it different ways. But some people just like, yeah, the 5 that you gave me is the 5 that I got. Whereas other DMs are like, no, it's 5 plus the modifier. So, like, you really have to ask your DM on that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but,
I think rules as written, it replaces the die roll. So whatever modifiers would have been there would still be there.
Right. So, like, some DMs, like, that is the number, and some, like, is the modifier, but... so that was her, but obviously she was past level 15, so she had 3 portents, so she had 3 rolls that she could make.
That's nice. Did you get lucky on top of that?
No, I don't have lucky.
Like lucky plus that just seems super broken.
I thought it was a little too broken, so I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
A virtual high five. All right, I respect it.
So then my other character that I played was a wizard of conjuration. Her name was Therabrix, but everybody called her Teresa. She was a tiefling with like 4-foot long horns.
Horns that are as long as a person?
Yeah.
A small person?
Yeah, no, that's doorways.
Yeah. So the story behind her is that she was a little more connected. Like she had a little more fiendish blood in her. So she had like the kind of satyr backward leg things, but they weren't like whole satyrish. And she had the big horns, so she was a little more fiendish.
Okay.
But Therabrix was her fiend name, and she was a part of a group called the Iron Inquisition. And basically what they did was they wanted to rid the world of all things unholy, but they were ran by a tiefling.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were ran by another tiefling. So it's like, what is your definition of unholy, right? If demons are traditionally unholy, why do you have a tiefling as your leader? But, you know. Mm-hmm. So she's really devout, and she gets sent on this mission as an undercover from this death cult. And she ends up making friends with this changeling named V. She convinces him to switch sides for them. And Stepan, the tiefling leader, is like, hey, yeah, absolutely, we'll make this deal with you, but, like, once this mission's done, you have to die for your crimes. And Teresa's like, wait, what? No. Like, I didn't save his soul for him to die. And he's like, yeah, no, he's going to die for his crimes. And V's like, okay, I'm fine with that. Like, I've killed a lot of people. He's a changeling. And in this story, like, he has to imbibe a bit of the person that he wants to change into. So he's like, I've committed a lot of atrocities. I'm willing to die for my crimes. And Teresa's like, no, I'm not going to let you die. So she, like, finally convinces him to live. And she's like, why are you just going to atone for your sins and then die, whereas you could atone for your sins and then keep living and save more souls than you destroyed. But at the final fight, she gets eaten by Zuktmoy. She dies by Zuktmoy. And her soul is consumed. Like, it's scattered, it's consumed. There's no spell except Wish that will bring her back. V tries to save her, and he doesn't make it, and he dies as well. His soul gets consumed as well. So I had to watch that. But Corey, my character, Cordelia, she manages to get her hands on Wish, and she brings Teresa back. And she asks Stepan, what does he think about V? No, excuse me, other way around. Stepan asks her, what do you think about V? And she's like, honestly, I think it's time for V to rest. So I'm going to let him rest. Because he'd been resurrected 3 times before that main fight.
Wow.
So she's like, it's time for V to rest, and I'm just going to let him rest, and I'm not going to bring him back. So Teresa got brought back.
And the changeling, was that an NPC or was that a player character?
It was another player character.
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
The feels.
So you were simultaneously playing 2 characters for like a portion of this campaign?
Yeah, so like when we didn't have players that could, like when all of our players couldn't be there, we would do side missions. And so like we had this extra party basically of other characters that we could play that were still in the same world that we were in, but weren't doing anything that the main characters were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ended up on the same path that our main characters were on, so we had to like dovetail them in, and some of us ended up playing 2 characters at once.
Interesting.
That's a fun idea, actually, to like zoom out and like look at like
the whole world,
the game itself. When if you have a group that's prone to having people drop out last minute and stuff like that, having like a sort of B plot going on in the world, and having like an alternate party, especially if you have like one person who is Can you tell we're going through some shit in our game already?
Our game. We got back into it. It was great. And then one person couldn't make it, who's going to be on this podcast one day, and we are not going to stop giving her shit about it for like half an hour.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up the feels.
No, it's fine. We're the ones who bring it up almost every episode, honestly.
Like, we
it's a bit of a sore spot.
We got back into it. It was awesome. And we thought we had some momentum, and that just got all fucked up when we tried to schedule the next session. And then for some background, Ari, we've been playing a continuous campaign for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And on and off. It's like, some years have been really good, some years have not.
Yeah, it's like at first we were trying to do like every 2 or 3 weeks, and then it turned into like once a month, and like it's like once every 6 months we managed to get everybody on for like 3 hours.
It turned into like once a week for COVID. They went back to going to shit after that.
Jesus.
And we all want to finish the game. Like, I always keep asking, like, are y'all just like tired of this? And like, no, we want to finish it.
Right?
Am I correct, Lisa?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've had stuff ready for them, but like, we can't go ahead unless everyone is here, because the person who's missing has the puzzle pieces you all need to complete the situation.
Honestly. Make alternate puzzle pieces. It's fine.
Like, I mean,
no,
she's been in for so long.
It's literally we're a very small party. We're only 4 people, and like
the other character's your wife.
Will soon be. We're like the ones who have been in this campaign from the beginning.
The co-mother of your child.
Yeah, the other 2 players are like later additions, like as the game went on.
You 2 are the originals.
Yeah, so like we can't complete it without her.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like that's the update on our side. A little progress. A little bit.
Oh, that reminds me though, speaking of co-wife, Teresa does in her epilogue, she does get a lover with her employer.
Okay.
Yeah, so she ends up leaving the Iron Inquisition because she's like, fuck you guys and all this bullshit. And she signs up with a mercenary company that's ran by a phoenix.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your DM's vision of organizational structures.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Some interesting mob boss choices are happening.
Yeah. So it's ran by a phoenix, and her last name's Ordevin. We just call her Ordevin. I think it's Ulia Ordevin, but like it sounds weird together. Anyway, so she signed up for a 5-year contract with her, and the first thing that happened is that they actually met at a party for this death cult. They met at a party because the death cult in our party was like having similar goals for a second. So we're like, all right, we'll just postpone our fight with each other and get this done. So we're at this party and she's there too. And Teresa has to stay back because honestly, I wasn't used to playing 2 characters. So I was like, I do not want this other character in the same space as my main character. So I left her behind. And she's talking to Ordevin. And she's wearing V's mask. So V was an assassin, so he like wore like a flat mask. And this is just after V died the 3rd time. And so she's like wearing V's mask as remembrance because he was part of this cult. So she's like, I want the whole cult to see that like V still exists and I want them to say his name. So she's wearing his mask and she sits next to Ordevin. And Ordevin's like, who are you? And Teresa's like not saying anything to her. And so like Ordevin's picking at her. And she finally tells her name. She's like, well, you're very mysterious. I don't like mysteries. And then Teresa like turns it around and is like, well, who are you then? And she's like, well, you're very mysterious. And so she's like, how about neither of us are mysteries. How about we're just puzzles for each other to figure out? So, like, they start trying to figure each other out, and it slowly turns into, like, a relationship.
Is this a giant
fix?
bird?
No. She can turn into a human.
Okay, just making sure you're not just making it with a bird.
No, it's a human. She's a human.
Okay,
it's like a race.
That makes more sense.
No, magical creatures can shapeshift. We don't need to question that.
Right, yeah, they can shapeshift. It's fine. But yeah, so, yeah, they eventually started dating, and Teresa proposed, and Ordevin's like, I will literally live forever. So, like, this whole...
I can't be tied down.
Exactly. She's like, but I will stay with you as long as you live.
Oh.
Well, that's a nice enough commitment, as good as you're gonna get from an immortal firebird.
I was like, that is a life commitment, technically.
A win is a win.
Commitment.
A win is a win.
A win is a win. So yeah, they stay in her sprawling castle with her fleet of ships, and they do mercenary shit.
Oh, that's a nice little button there for that character, because it sounds like, you know, you've had like this whole arc with the story. As a person who has never actually finished a campaign, I am fascinated.
We're so close,
hear.
Lisa. We're so goddamn close. I told you.
Endings are good. So the character that I first started with is now a legacy character. She's actually a goddess in the game that I'm DMing.
Ooh. And
Yes.
how many games have you actually been able to like finish like that? Where
Just
like you've
two.
been able to like wrap up just two, where it's like you've been able to actually like wrap up your characters in a nice little bow, or they're dead.
Yeah, just two out of like the 6 games that I've been in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to do. It really is.
I've been able to complete my share of games, and yeah, sometimes the ending comes because real life crashes in like a truck into the game, and we just have to end it. In which case, sometimes things are kind of just abrupt, like you have to find an ending at that point. But it is really good when you have that runway to finally like give everyone their ending of like who ends up with who, who's dead, who's not, like how, does this person avenge their family or whatever.
Who opens a bakery? Always a very important question to ask.
I think a satisfying close, like, you know that it's a good time to close when your character... So the characters I have kind of make own personalities for themselves in my head. So sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go talk to Corey for a second, see what she thinks on this matter. So, like, I think it's a satisfying end when characters are like, I just want to sit down and do nothing. I just want to retire.
When they've accomplished their goal, when they just want to chill.
Yeah.
There's nothing left for me to do.
Exactly.
My work is done. The next problem is going to be somebody else's problem.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what happened to Corey. Like, I talked to her, and, like, I was thinking about it, and she's just like, no, I just want to stop. I'm done. I'm so done. I'm done with all of the bullshit that has to do with my noble name. And I'm, like, tired of fighting, and I'm tired of literally only getting 8 hours of sleep to be woken up by monsters in my face. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of walking through plants. I'm tired of going through archways and going through dimensions. I'm tired. I just want my apartment with my little fluffy white Pomeranian in my comfortable professor position, and I want to stop. That's what she wants.
That's interesting. Yeah, you actually like have an internal conversation with your characters.
Yes, I love having internal conversations. I don't know. I'm weird. I apologize.
No, that is absolutely like I feel like it's a common thing, a common enough thing that like I've known a few people, especially people who like get into like creative writing and like go towards like writing outside of just, playing D&D. Like,
Right.
I have a good friend who I used to write stories with in, like, middle school and high school, and, like, we had, like, our little cast of OCs, and, like, we really did treat them like they were little people living in our head, and just, like, that's absolutely a sentiment that I deeply relate to.
Right. It's just, like, what do they want? It's, like, I have days where I'm just like, Corey, you do what you want to do. Like, I had sessions where I'm just like, Corey, you do what you're going to do. I'm going to sit back here and see what happens.
Yeah, let the character lead you. Because
they do like over time, like, develop a personality, because what it is that you are developing an instinct for, like, if there was a person who had all of these factors going into, who they are, what kind of decisions would they make? And, like, it feels, and sometimes it becomes such second nature that it does feel like you got a little guy in your head going, this is what I'm gonna do. Yep.
And your job is to either put it down on paper or say it out loud at the table.
Right. And, like, so I have mixed feelings about the saying, like, it's getting some stigma now, this is what my character would do.
Yeah.
Because, like, I do create that inner monologue with my characters, and I allow them to grow into their own personality, entity kind of thing. And, like I said, there are days where I'm just like, Corey, do what you want to do. Just go. But there's also days where I'm like, Corey, you're getting a little out of hand. I'm just going to play the game, and you're going to take a back seat until you can take a chill pill. Okay? But, like, most of the time, I'm just like, I'm going to do what my character's going to do. Like, this is what my character would do, and I don't feel like that should be stigmatized.
No, there's definitely, like, a balance with that. Like, you are playing a character, so you do want to take into consideration, like, what that character would do, and, like, you're having to think about, like, these are the factors, this is the kind of person that this is what they would do. This is how they would react in this situation. What's not good is, like, like you alluded to, people using it as an excuse to just, like, sow chaos that doesn't actually make sense with their character, but all of a sudden they're just saying, like, oh, it's what my character would do. Is like, no. From the beginning, your character was specifically designed to be a nuisance, and not in a funny way that everybody is having fun with, but specifically in a way that annoys everybody and nobody's having fun with your character. I think that the difference between what my character would do as, like, a positive thing is, like, everybody's having fun with it and everybody sees what you're doing and you're not, like, being obnoxious. And there's people who specifically make their characters to annoy everybody at the table because they think that's funny. And then go, it's what my character would do. And it's like, yeah, and what your character would do is annoying. And nobody's having fun. Out. And we don't like it. Right. Please leave.
Right.
My opinion on that is, like, it absolutely depends on the context, because if your character would do something that crosses a line for someone in real life, that's not okay. Like, especially if people say up front, like, hey, don't, these are my lines or veils or whatever, like, don't cross, don't bring this up in the game. Like, it messes with me in real life. Like, and someone says, oh, that's what my character would do. Like, no, that's not valid at all. And then also in the case of, like, depends on the type of the game, but, like, if you're getting people together online, or if you're getting people together especially in person, especially if it's hard to get those people together, if what your character would do bogs down the game so that the folks who carved out that time to be there to actually play and, potentially progress what they were trying to do, if what your character would do, takes up all the spotlight or bogs that down, or, gets the party into some other thing, some other insane thing that, no one had planned for, then that's also, like, not cool, because then you're not respecting everyone's time.
Right. So I have a question for you guys, like, specifically DMs or even, like, players. How do you guys feel about, like, players getting together in between sessions and being like, okay, this is what I want to do the next session, and this is how, like, this is kind of how it's going to play out on my end.
I love it. I love it.
Wait.
Yeah.
Players getting together with who? So, like, player and player, or
like,
player and DM?
Players and players.
Yeah, that's
love it.
always
Love it,
good.
love it, love it,
That's
love it,
usually
love it,
always
love it,
good.
love it.
Yeah.
Like, is that considered metagaming?
No. I mean, there's... As long as everybody has an acknowledgement of, like, that there is a certain amount of knowledge that, like, they can and can't have, you know, that, like, everybody understands what, you know, of that veil means, but no, like, it's actually very good, and
I think it's a good sign.
I find it very validating when I find out players have been doing that, because it's like,
same.
Whoa, I'm putting something in front of you where you have felt the need to actually plan.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, there are swaths of time that we don't necessarily follow the characters for. So, like, there's no reason why we can't just wave it away by saying the characters talked about it in a moment that the camera wasn't on them, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So...
the same thing. Lisa and Melissa, her in-game girlfriend, wife, co-mother, they talk about their child, their adoptive child, in between games, and that's super interesting. Of just like, I know you guys talk about it, and then you have worries about, like, oh, what's he doing when he's away from us? And guess what? I'm using that against you.
Yeah. Listen, I've learned my lesson to, like, when I want to talk about it, not in the room that you're in.
What does a teenager do when his parents aren't around?
Sneak out. Goes to raves. And listen, I'm a cool mom. You could do drugs in the house. That's fine. Like, I'll make sure to get you the good drugs, but just, like, don't leave the house. We got you this whole vampire manor. So have your shitty little friends come here. It's fine.
Jesus. I am a heavy RP DM.
Okay.
Like, I've never really liked combat that much because, a little known fact about me, I graduated high school with 8th grade math. So, like, math is terrible for me, and being a DM...
You're gonna hate Pathfinder.
Yeah. Being a DM especially, like, and you have to calculate all that shit out. Like, I can't do it. I can't deal. I can't hang.
Did you guys use D&D Beyond for your campaign?
Yes.
It does most of the math for you, even that.
Exactly.
Like, wasn't...
Exactly.
I was gonna say, that's why I love it.
Yeah, so I've used that as a character. I don't know how to use it as a DM.
It's actually pretty intuitive. Like, the DM tool from D&D Beyond are not that different. There's, like, some more extra stuff.
It'll be like a creature sheet, and then you can just roll from that, like you would a character.
Yeah, it's not as much...
But there's less track.
Yeah, you're not having to do math. Imagine you're just having to do, like, the things that you would do for when you're playing your character, like rolling and, like, looking at your sheet and stuff like that. Right. But, like, you might have to be looking at, like, 3 or 4 sheets at once and keeping track of just multiple moving pieces. But, like, it does the math for you.
I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so right now I'm a heavy RP, like, person. Sure. So, like, what do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer RP, combat, mix of both? What do you guys prefer?
The mix.
Yeah, because, like, I think both of us like to RP out, you know, whenever it's appropriate. But then there are other times where it's like, this guy's pissed us off, we're going to smash him. Yeah. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk our way out of this.
That's part of the catharsis of fantasy, is being able to, where in real life, when you encounter a problem, you have to actually solve it with, like, tact, and it takes time and shit. Whereas in fantasy roleplay, you encounter a problem and you just Eldritch Blast it.
Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast.
There's
not to say that we're not going to think our way out of problems if we can help it, but then there are those times where just like, we want to get some combat. I mean, we just got strong. We just leveled up. We want to do a new thing.
Yeah, I got new stuff.
There's no
INT. A big guy.
There's no I in team, but there's 6 eyes, and I don't care how big the room is. I said I cast fireball.
I mean, Fireball doesn't care either. Oh man. To be fair, that's why I play Evocation Wizards, because no matter how big the room is, I can carve everyone out.
Yep, that's absolutely fair. Do you guys like political strategies?
Yeah.
I like it. I have not been able to like pull it off in my games.
I do.
I'm a little too dumb for that. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like a higher level of role play, because even if you're creating conflict or stuff like that, it's probably not going to be a fight, like a fist fight that you're going to be in per se. It's like, you're pitting this party against this party, and political intrigue, or unveiling some sort of betrayal, or breaking of a taboo, or for all that stuff, and that has to work like in the world. So that has to be RP heavy, and that has to be the kind of lore heavy. Otherwise, it's just gonna fall flat.
Right. I love political intrigue so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because more than like a not combat heavy, but like a
combat centric
campaign. Yeah, a more combat centric, a more combat skewed campaign. I feel like a political campaign also, you have to keep track of so many things, because to make it feel pertinent, there are certain things that like have to happen in the background, and you have to like know, like, okay, these characters have been dicking around this town for 3 weeks. The treaty that they were supposed to try to stop from happening has already happened, and now what are the consequences, and how can they still be involved in that? And like, this item that was being stolen and taken across the border, they were supposed to intercept it, or they were supposed to stop the theft itself, or they were supposed to try to help with the steal, and now it's happened and it's over there, and like, now what? And like, having to keep track of things beyond just keeping track of what the party's doing, and like where the monsters are on the map.
Right. That's a thing that, like, when I started DMing, I've only been DMing for a couple of months. That's a thing that I didn't even think about when I first started. I was like, oh, I can't just pause time when my party stops. Mm-hmm. Like, I have to think about the outside world, but it's really great because I just changed the plot of the story. It doesn't change how anything works, really, but basically they all died of this plague that they're trying to stop, and they died so quickly they don't know they're dead, and everybody that left the city, this idyllic city that they live in, are actually people that have been resurrected from this plague. So like the whole city died of this plague, and so like clerics and stuff are coming into the city and like resurrecting who they can. So the people that are leaving the city are people that have been resurrected, and this party hasn't been resurrected yet, so they're like running through purgatory basically, and I'm going to have them fight through their heavens and hells and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Yes.
A little purgatory situation. You can do some dream logic. Things can just not work the way they're supposed to work. Yeah, and it's ran by dragons. It's ran by the Draconic Council. So basically, it's ran by all metallic dragons. So they're very self-righteous.
And then they run the city, and the city's called Swordfoss, and it's surrounded by a lava lake.
It's warm there, I assume.
Yes, it's very warm. So it started that the silver and gold council members were being hunted in like, it's classic D&D fantasy. When you see a dragon, you're like, holy fuck, right? And they were just like tired of being hunted. So they found a place where mortals can't get to in the middle of a lava lake, and was like, we're going to build our place. And then, like, people came there to research. So it started the Professor Locke's facility of magizoology, so that he could study the dragons. And he brought a research team, and that built the city. And so their currency is actually knowledge, not coins.
Cool.
So they're a bunch of gossips. But yeah, so there's the golden counselor, the silver counselor, the brass counselor. Yeah, like, but chromatic dragons are, so my players came up with this idea and I ran with it. Chromatic dragons are metallic dragons that have lost their humanity. And basically their scales have turned the not shiny version of themselves.
Dulled.
Yeah, exactly. So they've lost their humanity. But is he silver? Yeah, the son of the gold counselor, or excuse me, the gold counselor was married to the silver counselor. So the gold and silver dragon were married. They had a silver son. And the silver son then married a black dragon from a local chromatic
from the wrong side of the tracks.
Ooh.
Yeah, from a chromatic forest that was near them. But she didn't have humanity. So, like, well, she was learning humanity from her marriage. And so she had these violent outbursts. And eventually she died in childbirth. They had a daughter. She is a black chromatic dragon. And so, like, it doesn't have that connection to humanity. But, like, she has lived around metallic dragons, so she know what right and wrong is, and she has very violent outbursts where she just, like, destroys things, and, like, it just goes insane. That, and the people outside of the city that don't understand dragons are like, destroy the dragons, right? And these chromatic dragons are like destroying stuff. So they decided to create a draconic plague to focus on the chromatic dragons instead of fighting them, because, you know, most people that are not adventurers, like, can't fight dragons. So they decided to come up with a plague to target the dragons. Well,
the players?
No. This draconic sorcerer NPC, draconic bloodline sorcerer, used his blood to create the plague, but because he was also humanoid, it evolved to target humanoid bloods as well. So it just took out everybody, dragon and humanoid.
That's what happened. Bioweapons.
Yeah.
Have they not seen Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Have they not seen Resident Evil?
And it was developed that when when the plague spread, it took out the host faster and faster. So it didn't give the dragons long enough to regenerate from it. So each person it got passed on to, they died faster and faster and faster until they died so quickly they didn't even know they were dead.
Wow.
Yeah. So now they're in purgatory, and that's what's happening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they have to get out of purgatory and then try to stop this plague?
So the plague has already happened, so they're just fighting through this, like, hell dreamscape sort of thing. So the silver dragon, like I said, his wife died in childbirth. So I've already decided what his heaven hellscape is going to be, is that he's going to go home to his mansion, and he's going to open the door, and there's going to be this swarm of black bugs that descends on a chair next to the fireplace. And then it turns into his wife, and she turns around and she goes, "Oh, darling, you've been gone so long. How was your day?" Yeah. And so then there's another player that has a childhood crush, and this childhood crush managed to get out of the city, and what's actually happening is that she's writing these letters and knowing that her childhood friend is dead, and then she writes them to, like, "I wish you were here, I'm telling you about my day," stuff like that. And then she burns the letters because there's nobody to send them to. But those letters are kind of like Greek offerings where they get sent to the gods when they're burned. So he's getting the letters in the afterlife. So he thinks he's getting the letters. But he's scrying on her. He's a wizard, and he's scrying on her. And what's actually happening is that he's just a ghost. and he's like watching over her shoulder. But his childhood friend, quote unquote, sent him her twin Elandrian elf daughters, and because she couldn't take care of them anymore. But because these twin daughters are in the city, that means they're dead.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Right, because like you're saying that anybody in the city dies before they even realize that they're dead.
Exactly.
Oh.
So the mom sent her daughters to him to take care of.
For this story, like when you were first sitting down to think of like, set up this campaign for your players, how much of this did you know was going to be it? How much of it was like kind of made up on the fly? And what kind of like references and like what are your like inspirations for this? Because this is like a very interesting concept.
There's a kind of another layer to this campaign, is that like they're dragon riders. So I've separated dragons between greater dragons and lesser dragons. So greater dragons are the D&D dragons we think of, and then lesser dragons don't get any bigger than an adult dragon, and they're rideable. They have about the intelligence of like a cow or a horse or even a large dog. But they're dragon riders. That's what the city is. But I really was tired of the idea of dragons in D&D. And so I wanted to play with that. And then also I told you that my legacy character is actually a goddess in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a whole pantheon in general. And basically what I did there was I sat down and wrote down the alphabet. And then went down the alphabet and was like, just sounded out letters. I was like, Albert. And like, I was like, I like that name. And I just wrote it down and just made gods and stuff. Like I have one god that's the god of magic and music. And his name is Roland. And I was listening to that song, Do You Believe in Magic of a Young Girl's Heart? Yeah, that's what I was listening to. I was like, I want to make a god based on that song. And I could, so he's magic and music. And I was like, I don't remember this artist's name. So all I could remember was Rickroll. So all I could remember was Rickroll. So his name is Roland.
Oh my god. I love, obsessed with this sequence of events.
Yeah.
And the whole like you pick a letter or a sound and like you just sound out a name. That is exactly how I used to name characters too.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like I know what I want their nickname to be, so what will their name be?
Right. When I was building this, like I said, I did the alphabet thing, but also I made sure to have every pronoun that I could think of.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have he, him, she, her, and they, thems as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really wanted that representation there because I didn't know the party or group that I was going to be going into, and I wanted them to be able to see that.
You just made this all whole cloth. It's not based on anything, right?
No. I just tossed it together, and I was like, I want to do something, and then my players gave me their characters, and I was like, okay, I'm going to build a story from your stories.
Look at the gifts you've given me.
Exactly.
And this is the first game you've run.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had you run any of the pre-made campaign before?
No. I don't like pre-made games. I only do homebrew.
Damn, girl, you got good instincts.
No, you have great story instincts and like very interesting ideas. Because like that whole concept, everything that you were saying, I'm like, each twist and turn, all the connections between like these, like the NPCs and the PCs, clearly like you've got a very good sense of it, making people invested in what it is that you're presenting them.
Well, I think it helps that, like, I wanted them to build the story. So, like, I would
also good instincts.
I would do in between sessions, I would be like, hey, I'm going into voice chat because this is all online. I'm going into voice chat. Who wants to talk about their character? Like, who wants to build that? And then I also put up an RP page so they could do like in between rest times and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they could RP all of that, and it's just documented.
Nice.
So I allowed them to do that, but also I would listen in on the voice chats, and I would just get ideas from that. I would let them build the stories. I would find little pieces, like little holes that they didn't fill in. I would be like, hey, well, I have this character that this other person made, and I wouldn't tell them that this other person made this character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, hey, this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would talk, and I'd be like, hey, this about this location in a session. And they'd be like, oh, right, this person. And then you would just hear another player like narrow their eyes,
mm-hmm.
and they'd be like, I know that person too. So like,
yeah.
I would just make sure they built things in. But what I'm scared of is that like, because I don't have a story built, because I'm letting them tell the story, that it's eventually just going to fizzle out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not going to be anything there.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to have a endpoint or a resolution in mind because, yeah, I've run into that myself in certain situations where, yeah, we have this big long thing and it just keeps on going. Not your campaign, Lisa, a different one of just like, yeah, every session we do a thing or we do something and keep on going. But like, if they don't have any concrete goal that they know that they're working toward, or you can get them to, start working toward, then right. Yes, real life will absolutely come in and destroy your game.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I'm scared to write a story for them because I don't want to railroad them. Because once I write down the idea, I'm like, this is how the story's going to go. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not so much. You don't have to like write down the specifics of what happens or what the story is, but like have an idea of like the general shape of it, and leave it open to like, but if they make certain choices and you can never predict what choices your characters are going to make, be prepared to, on a dime, either take what they've done and make it still service the story or change it. But yeah, having the outline of a map and letting your players color it in is kind of the idea. I know that there's, as you were saying, that there's a stigma with, it's what my players would do. I feel like there's a stigma with railroading where it's like, it's more nuanced than that because you can't just fully let them go. And we've had this conversation with our other friend Austin recently where it's like, you do have to have an idea of where things are going, because you as the DM, you are the arbiter of time and honestly of direction. And you are representative of how the world reacts to the choices the players make. And every action has a reaction, and every reaction is an action that hasn't, it should like domino effect.
Because if the players do all this stuff and they don't feel like they have any impact on the world or the game, they're going to lose interest.
Yeah, right. Like, and it may feel a little video gamey, it may feel a little trite, but you, like, that's why the structure of, like, having a big bad to work towards getting powerful enough, to work towards uncovering their weaknesses, to work towards uncovering their plot, is such a classic thing because it gives you something very tangible for the players to work towards in whatever way that they decide to, but that the end is going to be this, and then once they've done this, they can choose to retire, they can move on, like, with the evil is defeated, the darkness is lifted. Right. Ganon is gone.
I was going to say, I think in your case, it sounds like the players, their big goal is get out of purgatory, whatever that means. Right. And, you help, you let them help you fill in the gaps. Does that mean they come back to life? Does that mean they pass on to the afterlife? Do they reincarnate into some other thing? Does something else completely happen?
Right.
Yeah.
But like they have to have something that they're working toward. Otherwise, it's gonna run the risk.
It will just keep going until it fizzles out.
Yeah.
Right. I think the goal that I have in mind is that the person that one of my players is scrying on eventually sees him as a ghost and like I'll probably do like perception checks or whatever for her because he scries on her like every night. So I'll do perception checks to see if she sees him as a ghost. And then once she sees him, she's going to be like, oh my god, he still exists. And is going to like try to resurrect him or something. And so like she's working from her side to like try to bring them back. But they have to get to a certain point in order for her to be able to reach them, if that makes sense. So, I don't know yet, honestly.
And sometimes that's okay. Like you clearly you have an idea of like their goal is to get resurrected. How exactly that happens, that's what the game is figuring that out. Is right. The choices that they make, and like that informs you of what things you're going to put in front of them and what things you're going to have happening in their periphery that they may or may not notice. You can hint at, you can do whatever you want. And you know, one of the things of like making your world feel alive is knowing that NPCs can do things without the characters knowing. Like the players, like, you know, a badly rolled perception check, the players might never know that this NPC was doing something this whole time. Until it comes back later on. 10 sessions later. Oh, he's the big bad. Until it becomes relevant to them and it is directly in front of them and they are facing it.
Yeah, I think that's where the balance of like RP and game comes into play, because if you're just on like an RP server where everyone just role plays whenever they want, like that's fine. But if you're playing D&D, there's a game aspect to it. So even if it's very nebulous, they need some sort of thing that they're working toward.
Right. And I'm trying to like, there's a couple things I haven't decided yet. So like they obviously have to leave the city to like do these missions and stuff. So, like, I haven't decided if, like, because originally leaving the city meant you got resurrected, but they have to see the rest of the outside world that is this continent to be able to do the rest of the mission. So, like, do I allow them outside the city? And it's like...
Here's the one thing that I think all of us have learned. This is all pretend. Like, you can just figure out a way to get them the information that they need.
Right. It could be like a lost and forgotten tome if it really comes down to it. It could be the babblings of somebody.
You can be real and just talk to them out of game of just like, I have this concern. I don't want the game to just fizzle out, so we need a goal. Let's work together as a group to make a goal. And it could be out of game. It could be something you guys roleplay in game, but... yeah, just talk to your players. That can't hurt either.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound like it's happened to you yet, but like if you get to a point where you feel like you're kind of hitting a wall or things are slowing down in a weird way, that's a great opportunity to, you know, have your players sit for a sort of like non-session and go, what are your goals as you know them? And then I'm going to fill some things in for you if necessary. And let's, like, work on what your overall goal is. And, like, that's also usually a good time to, like, I find to talk about, like, literally, like, how many sessions do we want this to happen in? Like, how many hours do we want it to take to reach our goal? Right. Do we want it to take 60 hours? Because we could do. Divide that by 5, divided by 4, however many. Like, or do we want to take it, like, do we think we've hit a point in this story where, like, we're almost there and in 5 sessions we could wrap up the story? Like, where are we in the story? And that's something that you have to clarify for your players, because you know where they are in the story relative to... the last bit of information or the last encounter, the doorway to exit the hellscape. Like, you know where they are relative to that, and the players don't. So you can go tell the players, like, hey, if you really wanted to,
you could leave.
Yeah, with the information that your characters have, plus one more piece of information that you almost have, you could have all the information that you need to get to the end goal, to cross the finish line. And we could be, you know, wrapping up the story and starting a new game next month. Like,
right.
That is absolutely a valid conversation to have with your players if you are hitting a wall and you're feeling like it's stagnating.
Right. Yeah. With my players, I do a Google Docs questionnaire, just like ask them what their limits are and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Proponents of the questionnaire, yeah.
Yeah,
big fans of the questionnaire.
I enjoyed making it, but like all of them were fairly okay with like most themes. And so the gold dragon, the silver sun just found out that his mother, the gold dragon, is essentially racist.
Oh boy.
Because he married a black dragon, right? And she's not racist to black dragons. She's just racist to chromatic dragons. And she doesn't like the idea that, like, so how that came out is that, you know, chromatic and metallic dragons have always been, like, against each other in classic D&D. They just have. And so, like, I wanted to explore how that looked like in a human form. And it comes out as racism. Like, that's the way it ends up. And so he married a black chromatic dragon, and his daughter is a black chromatic dragon who has never shifted forms, by the way. She's never shifted forms because she's lived in this mansion. And she said something, I can't even remember what it was, but she's like, we needed to get rid of those small-minded beasts. When she was referring to funding the plague.
Yikes.
Like, she helped fund the plague. And she's like, we needed to get rid of them. And he's like, you're talking about your granddaughter. You're talking about my wife.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Gotcha in the feels. So, so 2 questions for you, and I think we could call it a podcast. So, one, have you put any thought into also throwing gem dragons into the mix?
I want to, but I don't know how, but I want to.
Just like a third alien faction just comes along. It's like, what the hell is wrong with both of you? What are you doing?
Absolutely, yes. I want gem dragons.
They're the cousins who moved away when they were very young, and then they finally come to Thanksgiving for the first time in like 30 years, and they're like, whoa!
Good God, what's going on over there?
Whoa! This side of the family is crazy. We're going back home. Y'all be easy.
Well, I have a tree called the Eternity Tree that is a giant, like, I don't know what kind of tree yet, that is growing around a giant floating crystal.
Okay.
So I think that's where I want the gem dragons from. Yeah. So that I do want to add them in, but I don't know how.
You will find a way, given your thought process. You will find a way. And then the last question we always ask folks who, especially DMs, is go do it.
What do you know now as a DM and player that you wish you knew and that you would tell to new players and new DMs?
As a player, I would tell them, like, you think that these are just characters or these are just numbers on a piece of paper, but you will cry yourself to sleep sometimes over these characters. Please understand that now. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to be emotionally vulnerable like that sometimes, don't do it. As a DM, kind of like how I was saying, I didn't realize that time didn't stop when my players stopped. So they're like, what has been going on in this area over here? And I was like, huh? Nothing. Time stopped. What?
Consequences.
Things. So just remember that the
quantum physics. Quantum physics. Things happen while you're not looking at them.
Right. As a DM, I would tell other DMs, remember that the world keeps turning. And when you get bored or like stuck with your players, remember that the world keeps turning. And and run with something in another part of the world, because that might give you an idea, but also it helps you flesh out the world as a whole. So
definitely.
That's
all right. So I think, given everything, we've got about 2 hours here. Jeez. Although,
oh my gosh.
Noel's gonna kill us. Although, like, half an hour of that is technical difficulties.
Noel's gonna be fine.
All right. So, Ari.
yes.
Plugs. Do you want to plug anything? You're a TikToker, apparently. Just the most famous TikToker. So
The most famous? Yeah, absolutely. No. I'm not the most famous TikToker, but you can find me on TikTok at Echo Cosplay, ECHOCOSPLAY. There we go, cosplay. On TikTok, you can find me there. And I know, like, the Ottomans love to, like, tell their histories at Ren fairs, so you can find us on Facebook at the Ottoman Encampment, or Instagram at the same thing. But yeah, so good times, find us.
all right.
Oh man, yeah. And I think that's it for us.
Do our plugs, Lisa.
Oh god, yeah, our
You
plugs.
always forget our shit.
They're already here.
Oh, the plugs are gonna be so loud. You switch mics again.
It's fine. They're already here. They know. They know to just go.
This is not a
like,
YouTube video from the early 2000s.
Dragons. Oh, they know about the liking and the commenting and the subscribing and the telling of their friends, and then looking on social media and finding us on Twitter, as long as it still exists, and the Tumblr soon, and the Patreon.
I was gonna say your Tumblr. You want to start that, right?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get there.
Do that this weekend. I know you want to.
Hold a gun to my head, and maybe I'll do it. Maybe.
And last one.
And yeah,
Patreon.com. Yeah.
/ Oops All Dragons. Give me $1, please. I still need a table.
Lisa needs a table, people.
Lisa needs a table. And yeah, that's us.
I think that's an episode.
Go watch a TV show. Put in the comments if you've watched Tar. I need to talk to somebody.
I was gonna say, you just got completely sidetracked.
Donate to our Patreon. Get on the Discord. Start talking about Tar. I will get on there. I will talk about Tar.
You will just do a whole episode about Tar.
And I want to see
about Tar.
I want to see how many people like or dislike Lord of the Rings.
Comment if you hate Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Like if you're a fantasy enjoyer who hates Lord of the Rings.
That's gonna be a very interesting cross section.
What a weird niche. And I have it's such an interesting cross section that you just have to respect it. Anyway.
All right.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good night.
Good night.
Oops All Dragons is a group effort. Our show is edited by Noel Hernandez, our theme was composed by Brendan Lyons, and our logo art is by Azif On Q. Links to more of their work and their social media will be in the show notes. Find us on YouTube and Spotify, and check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Oops All Dragons.